Yeah, my name's Andy Wood Mitchell. My father was the managing director of Elstree Film Studios from 1974 to 1990. The Star Wars films were all shot there, the original first three. When my father came into the studios, the first thing he was told was to lay off 50% of the staff, with a view basically that the board had to close the studios. George Lucas was looking for a facility, but he needed somewhere that was not horrendously expensive. He went to Pinewood trying to sell them the concept of the film, I think, and they just were not interested at all because they didn't need, as far as they were concerned, to tout for business. My father, on the other hand, was in a rather different situation because he was trying to stabilise the situation at Elstree, and so I think he gave George Lucas a very good deal. As a kid, particularly, it was just amazing. It was a bit like walking into some sort of weird, surreal landscape. My dad would take either my sister to the studios or myself to the studios. I think he probably didn't want a load of hassle with us arguing, so he used to take us on separate days. And he loved the studio so much, I guess even on the weekends he couldn't bear being parted from it, so he always used to go for a walk there. It was a very kind of unique perspective to be able to kind of wander around before and after movies were made, and some of them would become huge and some of them just sort of sank without a trace. The studios at that time had a thing called the backlot. It was a sort of factotum space, a big earthy mound. There was one afternoon we were wandering around and I noticed this thing. When I looked at it, I said, I'm sure this is a lightsaber. And he was kind of, yeah, whatever, kind of. And I said, well, can I have it? And he said, it's lying around here, it's been discarded. And so I took it home. I don't know whether it had been used. I used to like to tell myself it was the one that was being used when they were shooting the bit where he's fighting against the ball. But in all honesty, I don't know whether that would be the case because I didn't bother to examine the history of this item. But it was shot somewhere where the Millennium Falcon had been. Because I think some of that had been shot, they had some of that on the outside as well as stuff that was done inside. Anyway, I don't know. But yeah, it sort of sat in my room on my chest of drawers for years and years and years. And then there was a guy that I used to go to this drama thing called Chicken Shed. And they used to have a lot of parties, and this guy was coming up. It was his 18th birthday party. This is a terrible story, really. So I don't want to spend any money. But he was crazy about Star Wars. And quite frankly, my interest in Star Wars had waned by then. I was about 18 or something. And I thought, or 17, and I thought, you know, I'll give it to him because he'll love that. I think I like telling this story because it enrages Star Wars fans. And so I completely and utterly forgot about it. And then there used to be a program on Radio 4 which they had a thing called the film program. I just happened to hear at the end of it, oh, if anybody has anybody who is in the film industry or had somebody in the film industry, we'd love to hear from you. We'd love to have a chat with you. So I just wrote in saying, well, my dad ran Elstree Film Studios. I don't know whether you're interested, but there you go. If you want to have a chat with me about it, I'd be very happy. And they wrote back immediately saying, yes, 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 we want you to come in. We'd like to interview you. So I mentioned it in passing. And then this crazy guy, Ruben, contacted me saying, I heard this program. Is there any way that you can connect me with the person who's got the lightsaber? Would he like to sell it? And I contacted my friend, and basically he said, no, I'm not interested in selling it. So I went back and I said, look, I'm sorry. And Ruben, being very persistent, tracked him down, because I wouldn't give him his email because I just thought, you know, it's not cool. And the guy said, anyway, he obviously managed to persuade him by offering him enough money. I would venture to suggest that even George Lucas didn't perceive just how significant Star Wars was going to be. I mean, one I found, they'd obviously thrown it away because the front bit was slightly bent. It hadn't been treated with a good deal of respect because clearly no one gave a toss about this thing.